Hey, welcome here to the Montana Sportscast podcast. Bob Ritterod, Paul Podisco here as we get to talk a little Frontier Conference basketball and other activity. Bobby, how are you, my man?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Can't beat this weather, and you know, basketball season in Frontier Conference can't get much better than it was last weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Paul, we had um, the two teams that played for the championship in both men's and women's had a rematch this week.
yes, indeed.
The winners for the same results this year as what they were last year, both games.
Are you trying to say that that's going to say something moving forward? Is that where you're going with this?
No. I just thought I'd throw it out there. No, no, both very good games though, I think as well. But
Mhm.
let's jump into we got the Wes and Steve Keller joining us today. Let's go ahead and jump into some standings here real quick. On the women's side, Paul, Rocky on top, 4-0 in the conference. Western, Carroll at 3-1. Providence and Tech at 1-3, and Northern at 0-4 in the conference. Big game this weekend in the women's side, I would have to say, is going to be Rocky at Western on Thursday night.
Yeah. The way it's set up, that certainly is the game as far as Thursday night goes. Huge contest for them, and then we're through the first round, and we'll see what shakes out second time through.
Yep. It gets interesting. Some scores from last week. Last Thursday, Rocky got Northern 76-60. And Western over Providence. This one really surprised me, Paul, that this one was this big of a spread. I expected Western to win, but not by 30, 79-49. And Tech, you saw that game. Carroll got them 60-48, but I think Tech played an awful good game.
They really did. I thought they came out, they led the entire first half, and Carroll, played the part of Carroll. They came out and really worked the ball into Pickens hard in the second half, got some shots to fall. But I think that might have been one that I think a lot of people thought might be a whole lot different. But Tech for 40 minutes, just an absolute gut check. I mean, they got after it. They got up and down the floor. I think they showed what they are, and it's going to be interesting as we continue down this thing.
All right, we'll let Wes join in here.
This is only your mothers would love, aren't they?
Man, how about that? He joins in and he just starts.
I'm right in there with you guys. So
we were just trying to talk him up a little bit, Paul, and he just come. You know what I can do, Paul? I can just do this right here. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Joining us from his son's bedroom, ladies and gentlemen, Rocky head coach.
I'm trying to find my volume here to get it turned up a little bit so I can hear.
Okay, well we're going through some games from last week, Wes. So we're going to finish that up. But so let's jump to Saturday, Paul, and Tech gets their first win for Coach Graham in Frontier Conference, 69-61 over Providence.
Yeah, and again, they just got after it. Just never sat down at all, and just really 40 minutes of good basketball and shot the ball well. And Tavia Rooney went off. She had a huge second half, especially fourth quarter. I think it was 19 points in the fourth quarter alone, and that's when they needed her. So yeah, honestly, a good weekend for Tech coming out 1-1. I think.
Then we got Western 76-67 over Northern. This one may be a little closer than what I expected.
I wonder if a lot of the energy from Thursday, as they were doing raising the money for Paige on Thursday.
That's true.
You wonder if a lot of there was so much emotion in that ball game on Thursday, and it meant so much beyond basketball that night. I do kind of wonder if a lot of that energy was expended on Thursday and then had to try and remanufacture it on Saturday. And good on them, they did. That Western team right now is rolling. You look at what Fitzgerald and company does. Brindley is just solid. She is outstanding inside for Western.
Then our last women's game, Rocky and Carroll, and once again, the first team to 51. True. I'm sorry. It happens a lot.
I'm not discounting this at all, and congratulations, coach. That's a big win, and I mean, obviously in conference, you might see him 3 or 4 more times before we get to the end of this thing, but it's certainly a good way to get it underway.
Yeah, we kind of got. I've always had this thing with Coach Keller and Coach Sayers that it seems like the first 1 to 50 always wins these games between these two teams. Neither one of them play very good defense, so you just never know. But I think it was. I think there was about maybe a minute left, Coach, and there was a timeout, and you kind of looked at me, and I looked at you, and I know we were both thinking the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah. I think the score was like 46-42 at the time. And I'm like, I'm thinking
Yeah.
get to 50.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can talk to Mr. Keller there.
Well, hey, Coach. First and foremost, we appreciate your time, man. It's always great to talk to you, and welcome. And again, thanks for joining us, bud.
Absolutely. I enjoyed our overtime thing last year, and then anything that you're a part of, I'm all in. So
well, that might be your first mistake. That boat normally sinks, Wes. So actually, I think the last time you and I were in a Zoom call, it would have been Hoops for a Cause going back 2 years ago. So now you have 20 minutes that you have to break down some games. So just go.
What game do you want me to break down here, Paul?
Well, I guess, honestly, give me your take, as a guy, obviously, as a Frontier Conference fan, a fan of Rocky, a fan of yours. Where does the Frontier Conference stand right now? And your expectations, how good is our conference? And kind of what are your expectations going into round 2 here this weekend?
Yeah. So Thursday, we're fortunate to be where we're at 4-0 right now. And we finished with Western, who's they're playing at another level right now, in my opinion. And it's going to be a good test for us. We've talked with our team about, we've done the work to get to where we're at now. Now let's not be content with where we're at. Let's continue to get better. And, our league's tough. I mean, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And, you better bring your hard hat and your lunch pail, or otherwise you're going to get beat. And I kind of like that. That's our team's mentality. They play with some toughness and a lot of grit. And, I know there's been a lot of talk that we don't have India anymore, and we don't, but credit to our kids. We got a lot of kids that can hurt you on any given night. But they're really playing together, and they're really bought in on the defensive end. And, I'm just happy with where we're at right now. We go 2 road games this weekend. We could be easily sit 4-2 after this weekend, if we're not ready to go out and compete.
Doesn't it feel like, I mean, we're obviously only a couple games in, but doesn't it feel like the road games already to this point have a lot more, they feel like they're a lot more tenuous every week. You go back to years past where you're like, even if we're on the road, we'll probably have a pretty good shot here. But right now, just through the first couple weekends, it feels like the road games, when you're on the road, it feels like there's a lot more riding on them than there have been in previous years.
Oh, absolutely. And you want to win the league, you got to take care of your business at home. And it used to be you always had 2 road games, 2 home games. Well, now it's sometimes you got a road game and a home game in the same week. And, the old adage of trying to get a split on the road and you take care of your stuff at home, you definitely have a chance to be where you want to be at the end. So yeah, I mean, this weekend's a little bit different. We went home and road twice. Now we're going to go road for the first time this weekend. And then next weekend we'll follow up with 2 home games. Okay. So the schedule's a little bit different. There's a few things that aren't normal, I guess, if you will. But when you have 6 teams and you play everybody 3 times, there's going to be some differences.
Well, and I mean, that kind of segues into scheduling as it is. We continually talk year after year. that has to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest things to do as a coach in this conference is get games. And whether you're traveling to Arizona for, like the Cactus Classic, or trying to get kind of little tournaments or pickup games, and more importantly, trying to get teams to come to your place and get games. Talk about the struggles of schelding.
That's
in the
that's
Frontier
impossible
Conference
to get home games non-conference. Yeah. We were fortunate to have, I think, maybe 3 non-conference home games. We host that Classic right after Christmas, but the scheduling part is it's a nightmare. And like I said, luckily we do have the Arizona trip where the teams that decide to participate will get 2 to 3 to 4 games down there, which definitely helps. And just our location and where we're at, there's just not many people to play. You could head west, but the Cascade only needs maybe 4 non-conference games because their league is so big. And that's been one of the issues since the NAI knocked us down to 28 games, in my opinion, is the ability for crossover with some of those bigger leagues. Because now, we used to get the Bethels and the Campbellsvilles to go to Arizona, and now that they cut us a couple games, that we aren't able to do that.
In discussions with a couple other coaches at this point, the idea of the 28 games has come up a lot, and especially when we look at the Cascade Conference, because now they can kind of pick and choose who they want to play, rather than kind of scrounging for a couple more games as well, and that has affected us this year, and certainly will moving forward for the Frontier Conference.
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't know who's out there that would like to join the Frontier, but I know we could definitely use a team or two. So why don't you two work on that in all your free time?
Yeah, this is our open invitation, ladies and gentlemen. If we could get some tools, well, the idea of Arizona Christian coming in is getting some games scheduled, for basketball. What other options are out there? I mean, because that is going to continue to be one of the hardest things to do is get those non-conference games. Is it the idea of getting a few more tournaments where we have multiple schools come together in Montana to try and bring some schools in, or do we meet in a place that's easy to fly to, like Vegas or Arizona? I mean, are there any other options available in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, you could get on there, plane or bus, and head to the Midwest and find all the road games you want, right? Obviously, we'd like to have home games, but if not home games, neutral sided games. And we've in the past we've had a tournament in Vegas, and some of the coaches and I have talked about where else could we host one. The problem with Vegas at the time was the facility. We had to play at a high school, and the court wasn't 94 feet, no shot clocks. It was just a pain. So there is a junior college down there now that has a facility that we've been in talks with a little bit about potentially hosting something down there. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So
when we go through and play everybody at least 3 times, maybe more, as we'll get to the Frontier Conference tournament. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit, but talk about how that affects.
We got timers here.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Wes didn't pay the power bill. You're bringing a whole different attitude to this interview than anybody else.
You probably won't ask me back, so that's fine.
The idea of playing everybody as much as we do, and especially depending on who you have at your place twice as opposed to who you're on the road against twice. How much is that going to affect postseason? The idea of teams going to the national tournament. How do you see that shaking out here over the next couple of trips?
Obviously when you play, you obviously want certain teams at your place at home twice, and other teams you don't mind going on the road twice too. This year we happen to have to go to Western twice and Carroll twice, and our kids look at it as a great challenge, and they'll be ready to go out and compete and play for 40 minutes, and whatever happens. So I think our league as a whole, we've done well at the national stage, and I think other leagues around the country understand that we beat up each other a little bit, and some of our teams might have a few more losses going into those national tournament settings, but I do know this: nobody wants to have to play a Frontier Conference team when it comes to, you know, those opening round pods or at the final site.
Do you think, like, as far as the Cactus Classic, do you think that helps a lot with how well the women's teams went down and showed out in Arizona? Do you think that's something that carries weight moving forward?
I think so. And you know, you try to schedule, you know, for the Cactus Classic, for example, you know, it's nice if you can get teams that you normally won't see or play. You know, Rust was down there this year, and they have a really nice ball club, and obviously Vanguard, and you know, I just like to see us be able to pull a few more of those teams from the Midwest to get out there and compete against us, and that also helps the Raiders around the country that aren't very familiar, because there is a lot of new Raiders, I know, and that helps them gauge, you know, well, they played such and such in our league and did this to them, you know. So I just think it helps give everybody a little better idea where people are at.
When it comes to recruiting, you know, we're still obviously dealing with the extra COVID year in a lot of ways. Are we getting more back to a normal progression for students, or are you still have quite a bit of the extra COVID year and questions whether ladies are going to come back and use that year or not? Is that still pretty plentiful?
We just ordered senior gifts for who we think might be a senior, and if they decide to use the extra year, we'll at least have what we were going to give them already in hand. But you know, so much of it's, you know, how does the season go? How does the season play out? And, you know, college basketball is a grind, and you got to love it, and it's a job. And, you know, if your heart and head aren't completely into it, you know, you're not going to get out of what you want to get out of it, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and we always joke about it, but it's a big, you look at how long the season is and how much of a grind it is, and how high a level you have to play to keep that mentally, to keep it physically. That wears a person down a ton. So, I mean, you certainly can understand both aspects of that easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Bobby. I mean, you're falling asleep in your chair. How do you want to?
Yeah. That one of those video game chairs, Bob, or what kind of chair is that?
That's what he does. I don't know if you know that, Wes.
You a gamer?
He's a professional
I'm a gamer,
gamer.
Man. I play those basketball games, and that's how I make my picks when Panisco and I are done at the end of this, is how well I do. Now you lost my chain of thought. I forgot what I was going to ask you, but I actually did. You know, that's bad about it. But no, Wes, talk a little bit about, you know, you got, I think, one senior on the team right now. You say you brought gifts, you know, and some of the other kids might graduate or be gone because they have enough years in and can graduate. But, you know, you got a young team. Chloe, I think, is the only senior on your ball club. Talk a little bit about the youth that you have.
Yeah, you know, first and foremost, I like to give, you know, she's been with us for, it seems, 10, 12 years now. And
we graduated high school together.
I was going to retire. You know, I was going to retire until she came along. I said, "Oh, I'll stick around as long as she does," but I didn't expect on staying another 6 years.
I know, right? But, you know, Chloe's just done a phenomenal. I mean, she's the heart and soul of our team, and it's just done a phenomenal job as far as the leadership goes. You know, even in practice today, she can tell when I'm starting to get a little frustrated about something, and she's the one stepping up and saying, "Hey, this is how we're rotating. Figure it out. Let's go." And you know, we got Gracie Leckfold, who, you know, got thrown into the fire last year, and she's doing a nice job in teaching, you know, not only our young freshmen, but also your transfer kids, that, hey, we don't do that here. This is how we do that. And it's definitely nice. You always talk about, as a coach, you know, the cart's going to move if we're always pushing and pushing and pushing. But when the players start pulling from the front, I mean, that thing just cooks. And I feel like that's where we're at right now in our program. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, nobody's going to remember who scored 20 points when we played Carroll or Tech in 2023. Okay. Hopefully they remember you won, right? So the whole concept of it doesn't matter who gets the credit as long as we do it together and get the W at the end of the day. And our team's really kind of bought into that. And I just like where we're at. I still feel like we have a lot of room to progress and grow, in this next month or so. And so that stuff's definitely exciting for us. Those of you've watched our teams, I mean, we defend, and this team's really, really bought into the getting stops. And if you don't want to defend, I'm sorry, I don't care how good an offensive player you are, you're going to have a hard time seeing the court if you're not going to prove to me that you can get stops when we need it. So I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of
I guess. But
we're starting Ileana Moran right now as a freshman, and all freshmen go through some growing pains, and I'm pleased with her progress so far. And I thought Dominique Stevens I saw a side to Dom that I haven't seen yet in that Carroll game, and it kind of made me smile. If you will.
I hope so.
Yeah. So those, you got Max playing well. I think this is the best Max played in her 3 years that she's been with us. So yeah, we're excited. We're obviously where we want to be at this point, but the work's not over. We got to continue to do what we've done to get us to this point. And we know there's going to be some little roadblocks and different things along the way, but we always talk about let's not get too high and let's not get too low and drop off of cliffs and just try to stay as consistent day in and day out as we can.
You talk about Gracie and Chloe there. How important is it to recruit coaches' kids?
No, I think, I was a coach's kid, even though my dad would tell you I wasn't a pleasure to coach at all. But
that'll be our first question.
I can turn him on here. He's on here.
they got high basketball IQs, and you just recruit. Back to your recruiting thing, Paul. You can get hung up and getting long and athletic and all this, and or you can be, short and quick and fast. It's, I don't have a problem playing with several point guards out there at a time. I just like that. Usually the point guards have the highest basketball IQ, and all of a sudden, you got 2 or 3 of them out there versus, and we've kind of went to that the last couple years, and we already signed a outstanding player out of Gig Harbor, Washington, that is another point guard that's really athletic. And so we've kind of went with the philosophy, I don't care how big you are, you got to be tough. And if you're a point guard, great. That just helps us as far as the basketball IQ and the running and the leadership aspect of things. Because most point guards are leaders on their teams in high school and junior college and stuff. So that's kind of
the other side of that.
Is
a lot of people will, bang on you about, well, if you're playing a whole lot of guards, you're not going to get rebounds, you're not going to have a presence in the post. Well, I mean, Chloe is normally towards the top of your pile as far as rebounds every year that she has been in the fold, correct?
Yeah, no, she has. And then you had India Fly, who was last year getting 10, and I can handle playing smaller, and as long as we got a couple bigs in there and continue to, our style is we want to play inside out. We want paint touches and threes, and we don't want a lot of pull-ups outside the paint. Sorry, I got to exercise here for a second. So glad I can entertain you guys.
I'm so glad we can just cut that video up as time goes. Yeah. And I also appreciate you're giving us like a tour of your office as you go through. It's nice of you. Oh, Wes, I love you, buddy. You're, I look at the coaches we have in the Frontier, and we're so lucky. We're just such good people, and everybody bands together, and we certainly see that this past weekend. We were talking about it before with Western, and the trying to raise some money for Paige, and Paige, is in Salt Lake City with the infection, and Hoops for a Cause has done such incredible good. through our conference and throughout the entire state. And Wes, you were one of the first to jump on the bandwagon. When Coach Mullet at MSU Northern decided to try and do something, you went to bat immediately, and you have always been part of the backbone that makes Hoops for a Cause a great thing. So for the entire Frontier Conference family, thank you on that, and thanks for everything else you do, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Paul. And I don't know where we'd be without guys like you and Bob and that are out there pushing our message and pushing out, letting people know how good the Frontier Conference is. And there's a lot of people that I don't think understand how high quality of people and a high level of basketball that is being played at our level.
Yeah, I completely agree. Bobby, do you have anything for the man before we cut him loose?
And I don't think so. I'll probably get a chance to chat with him here again pretty shortly. So, no, it's thanks for coming on, Wes. I don't know if you want to stick on. We're going to have
I might stick on and see what the legend has to say.
And he jumps on here, and the first thing that happened is my computer locked up. So I'm gonna blame that. I'm gonna blame that on him. It's gonna take me another 10 minutes now to marry all this together. But we do have Steve in here now. Steve, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you blame that on your age and we don't know how to turn computers on and off? Although I do have a light switch, I can do that.
That was going to be my first question: is if you can actually control the lights in your office or not. And it's good to know that Dad actually gets
switch. I don't wave my arms. We don't have anything like that here.
Well, you guys got more money than they got at Rocky. That's the problem. That's the deal there. Yeah.
The hospital that owns us has a heck of a lot of money. I'll tell you that right now.
So Steve, I got a question for you real quick. Wes brought up, I asked him about recruiting coaches' kids, and he said that he was a coach's kid, and his coach probably didn't like coaching his son. What's your thoughts on that?
I could tell you so many stories, and I may tell you one or two, but yeah, he wasn't real easy to coach. Just so the other one, the younger one, was
later on in life. That's all.
a lot easier to coach. But I got to coach him. That's the good part. And he's right about coaches' kids. I mean, he sat behind the bench almost every single game, and not that I knew anything, but he learned a lot just sitting there watching, and that's how they learn. And I'd love to have coaches' kids all the time. He's a prime example. He's got a National Coach of the Year plaque sitting up there. I don't have one of those yet, nor do I think I'm ever going to get one. But the job that he's done, and it's amazing. Pretty proud of him.
I was talking to your grandson one day. We were sitting in Wes's office, and Tucker said something about, Grandpa can do this and Grandpa can do that. And I said, well, he's won a lot of state championships in high school. And Tucker looked at me and he says, but he's never won a national championship in college.
That feels like a learned answer, doesn't it? That feels like he's been coached.
Next time you ask Tucker, ask him who won the horse game every time we played here about 2 months ago.
Okay.
There's no doubt in this family, I'm the best shooter. Josh and Wes are tied, I think, and then Tucker. My daughter's a pretty good shooter too, but they haven't beat their dad.
This is shaping up to be, I bet you Thanksgivings are real fun around the Keller household. I'm really wanting to be there for these now that
That's why everybody's at their own house that particular weekend.
Let's go back to I'll go back to one practice. They're playing terrible. We're at Helena High. They make me mad. I said, all right, on the line. So we run a blood run. That's the line sprints, I call it. And we get back and Wes goes, what's that for? I said, go. So we ran another one. Gets back and Wes goes, what'd we do? I said, go. They took off for the third one. And they come back and Josh says, Wes, shut up. So yeah. Handful.
Yeah. Well, Paul, let's turn it over to you, and you can ask Steve some questions.
Thank you on that. I appreciate that. I doubt Steve knows me well enough to know there aren't going to be any decent questions thrown in his direction. I guess the main thing, Steve, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. We love being around you. We love talking to you. And I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a while. So it's good to see you, my friend.
You too. I appreciate it. Is anybody watching this?
I doubt
Just
it.
us four?
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah,
The shine off of mine and Bob's head scare most people away, especially children.
I apologize for not getting a chance to talk to the other night as we got our butt kicked, but I didn't come out of the locker room. I got to talk to JT. I always enjoy talking to him.
That was only on threat of physical violence that you got to talk to JT.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
I assume. Well, let's start with you watch your son coach. Talk about that relationship, because you have obviously been in the game for a long time. You have seen almost every scenario known to mankind as a coach, and you're able to understand it and maybe process it a little bit better. Talk about that relationship and even what you learned watching him coach that you have brought into your own fold.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, it's harder watching your kid coach than it is you coach yourself, and he could tell you, we were just talking today. I was actually watching his film on Carroll, trying to pick up some things. The only thing I don't know is some of his terminology. Our terminology is way back when, and they've got different terminology. But yeah, as we got beat out, didn't have a very good year last year, so I jumped on his bandwagon and went to all of his games, and I probably put in a little bit too much input for him. But I feel like I'm a way better assistant than I am a head coach, and you see more as an assistant coach. And so, yeah, I just want to help him. But I'll tell you, I'm more nervous for the game than he is. I think just watching your kids coach and things like that, that's really nerve wracking for me. But I want to be there if he wants me to, and he's pretty good about, not that I know everything, because he certainly has. I think both my boys know more than me. They're more thorough than I am. But like you said, I've been around a long time and I've seen about everything. And I'm not afraid to tell him at halftime, or, come down to the locker room. And a lot of times I'll be at his locker room before he is, waiting for him. So as long as he doesn't mind that, I'm going to continue to do that. I enjoy it. And probably that's where I probably need to start moving over to, is just doing a lot more watching my grandkids. Two of my grandkids are in Melstone, Montana, our biggest rival, and we didn't ever think there'd be a Keller playing at Melstone, Montana, for crying out loud. But I'm pretty glad he's there, actually.
Well, and yeah, this whole talk of being an assistant and watching grandkids, I understand the whole grandkids thing, but the state of Montana needs you, so you're just going to have to coach until we decide we're done with you.
Well, then they better start getting me a few more wins at Tech and Carroll, because it's getting harder. They're getting better. And I told Adam he didn't want Montana kids when he first came to Tech. He didn't think they could play. Now he's getting all the good ones.
And that's the one thing. I don't know. I love looking at rosters and seeing where all the kids come from. I think that's an important part of what makes our conference special. But yeah, you look at Tech and they have 12 Montana kids on their roster. Steve, you have, was it 8, maybe 9? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Right.
Two Great Falls kids.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important. And there's something to be said, I guess, for both sides of that argument. But how important is that to you to have a good base of Montana kids in the Frontier Conference?
Well, I think we did that at Western, and Adam tells me that's where he got the idea a little bit. And then he had Derek Selvig, who was, coaching Idaho Select, and he was finding some of those kids. But I totally believe, you still need 2 or 3 really good out-of-state kids. And then if you combine them with our Montana kids, who most of them can shoot, and they've been coachable and they're smart. And I just think you got to have that good combination. And when you do, you compete for championships.
Every year we talk about how good our conference on the men's and the women's is, top to bottom. We continually talk about it, but in my 26 years, whatever it is, this feels like the first year on the men's side that you could run it 10 times and you might come away with 10 different 10 different winners across the board. The level of talent and the parity in the men's side right now feels like it is at an insane degree.
Well, and I think you're going to see that as we go through. I mean, Northern's in last at 1-3, and they've lost 2 double overtime games, and it's just a matter of winning. Some of those we got it. We were very fortunate to get a 1-point win at Western. We didn't fare very well at Tech. I thought we played pretty well for a big stretch of that game. They're just big and athletic, and if they shoot it like they shot it against us, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat them. But yeah, I just think, well, obviously we were all 1-1. That's never happened in my 15 years where after 2 games, everybody's 1-1. And I don't know for sure. We've had too many times where 4 teams were 2-2, which we are right now as well. So I just think it's going to be, you got to try to win your home games, and then you got to try to sneak some on the road. And I don't think it's going to be like it's been in the last few years where 2 or 3 losses, wins the league. And I think there's going to be more than that. Although after playing Montana Tech, I think they're definitely, the best team right now.
You bring up the shooting percentage. That's the one thing that really feels crazy to me right now. Because even you look at Carroll the last 2 games, Carroll has shot over 55%, and it feels like a good chunk over that in their last 2 games. And one was a loss here, to Montana Tech, where I think they shot, I want to say it was like 56% from the floor, and maybe it was like 62% from the 3-point line in a loss. The shooting percent, and you certainly always have those teams. You have guys.
That's
I
the
can watch
equalizer.
Harris Williams play forever.
We're not as big as Tech and some of the teams, but the equalizer is that 3-point game. And I don't adapt very well to many things, but I think I've adapted to that part of the game. And we do take quite a few threes. We were 12 for 30 against Tech, which isn't bad. Yeah. But they were 12 for 30 as well. And Carroll hasn't shot a lot of threes. They've been more the mid-range, get to the rim type teams, but everybody's capable. It's amazing how well, when I first started coaching and Bob and I both played, I mean, we didn't have a 3-point line. So how hard would it be to coach? My son says he worries about defense, and I do too, but I don't work on as much as he does. But how easy would it be to defend when you don't have a 3-point line? That's just changed the game, and you got to get out there, and then they can get by you. And it's amazing.
I guess think about it in that respect, where when you started in the Frontier Conference, where is the conference now as opposed to then? Or do you remember kind of what the identity of the conference was when you started as opposed to where it has morphed into now?
Well, we had Westminster and LC in the league when I jumped in, and if you wanted to compete at that time, you had to get the same type of players that those guys were getting, and they actually helped our league take that next jump, because in order for us and everybody in our league to compete with the LCs and the Westminsters, we had to get better players. So everybody did that, and I was very fortunate at Western. My first 2 years weren't very good, but 8 out of the last 9 we got a chance in the national tournament. And now it's not as easy because now you have to win 2 games, but yeah, overall the talent is better, and a lot of old school guys who are very good players in our league way back when, they'll tell you that, I don't know what Wes will tell you. Josh always says that he was better than everybody else, but the players are better now. They're more athletic. I think there's more shooters. I mean, everybody's got a shooter, and to be honest with you, recruiting wise, very seldom, do I get a guy that can't shoot anymore. I just think you got to be able to shoot that 3.
Here's the question:
grandkids are hard on that. My grandkids I'm coaching them on that, telling them you got to get in that gym. You got to shoot that 3.
Is the game as physical as it was when LC and Westminster were with us?
Pretty physical. Okay. Yeah, I think it might even be more physical. You play Tech and you play Carroll and Northern, and those teams are physical, and we run dribble drive, so we're hard to rep, and I'm whining for a call all the time, and we're hard to rep because of that. But I think it's more physical now, and better shooters and better athletes. You didn't have as many athletes on the team, but it's hard to compare. I watched when Josh and Wes, played, and Dessing was coaching, and there's a lot of, and Bellich played. I was watching those games. I was coaching high school at Helena High, but I got to see some of those games. And I gotta tell you, Jeff Bellich is pretty good, but I'd take Caleb Bellich.
That was going to be our trivia question later. We were gonna run a poll.
Yeah.
The one thing as far as the LC and the Westminster goes, continuing on that for a moment, was when they were here, we had our single site tournament location. We were at the Maroon Activity Center and at the Butte Civic Center for a couple of years. Talk about both of you, if you don't mind, Steve and Wes, what that means to you as coaches to be back at a single location, what it means to the programs and to the conference as we get ready for tournament time at the end of the season.
Go ahead, Wes. You want to talk about that?
No, I think it obviously if you're one of the top teams, obviously there's nothing like a home playoff site game. But if you look at the overall student athlete experience, some of these teams, the playoffs, highest seed hosts, that's not really I think the student athlete experience can be better. Now you have a single site. It actually feels like a tournament. And, there might be some kids that go 4 years and that might be their only opportunity to play in a setting like that. Cause not every team's going to make the national tournament every single year. And, so I think it also gives an opportunity for maybe a team 5-6 seed to come off and shock somebody and get hot, So yeah, I'm in favor of it, and we supported it, and we're anxious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and back then when Westminster, a lot of times it was Westminster and LC playing for the championship, so there wasn't a very good crowd. Now we don't have that anymore. We're all Montana teams, and we've been pushing for it for a long time, and there was pushback, and I give the credit to Coach Himmelberg, and not that because it's in Great Falls, that's a great advantage for us. We're playing at a neutral site. We don't get a practice there. I just think after they have this and see what the crowds are going to be like and the student experience, I just think it's here to stay for the Frontier Conference, and I'm totally excited about it. I've wanted it for a long time. We spent a lot of money traveling, different places, but obviously home court at every place is big. So if you earn that, the 2 years ago when we won the whole thing, we were supposed to host during the COVID year, and we got pushed out to Omaha, Nebraska, and we lost a close game. We had a chance to do some damage at the national tournament. So neutral site. Yeah, a question, would you rather play Montana Tech at Four Seasons Arena or at Montana Tech? Would you rather play Carroll at Carroll or Rocky at Rocky? It doesn't matter. They're all good. Now we're on a neutral site. That's what tournaments are usually for everybody growing up, high school and everything. So I think it's awesome. I think the fans are going to love it. The players are going to love it. And I think the coaches are going to love it.
What do you got for them, Bobby?
Well, I think the tournament's going to be a great thing. I got a fun GoFundMe account. I'm going to start to get our football team bust up there for that tournament, though. That's for sure.
I like that, Bob. I like that.
No, I think it's going to be great. And like Wes said, it's one chance that a lot of these kids never get to play in a tournament setting, and Wes also said college basketball is a job. I mean, I told my kids, I says, you can either go to play college sports or you can go to McDonald's and Wendy's and get 2 jobs and pay for your education, because I'm not going to help you. But I mean, that's the way it is. It's a job. It's not just a fun game anymore. And this is a great opportunity for them to have some fun in a tournament setting, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I think everybody will see that after it happens. Once it was just hard getting everybody convinced that let's give this a try and see what happens. So I'm excited about it.
Steve, I got a question for you. Just talk a little bit about your team. I really like your point guard, Mr. Curtis. I told Paul after you guys played us, I said he might be the quickest guard that I've seen in the Frontier for a while.
Yeah.
Well, he played pretty good against Tech the other night. He's quick and he can shoot it. And, I've made a living on some of those little point guards. Of course, my middle son my youngest son is not very tall and he was pretty good. And those guys have chips on their shoulders. And this kid was not recruited by anybody. I was basically the only one that talked to him. And he's pretty darn good. Now, if he was 6'2" or 3, he wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have a chance at him with those skills.
Right.
So, yeah, he's pretty good. And, we kind of survived. We added a couple new guys that are pretty good, but we're trying to, fit that in a little bit. And, I like our team. We got 7, 8 deep. We're just undersized a little bit. We got one big 5 and we don't have any 4s, but their big 4s have to guard our guards. And like Wes says, he likes playing 4 guards, and I've been doing that for a long time. So just happened to be that Darko Kelly was one of those 6'6" guards that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still gives people nightmares, I think.
Yeah, he had a really bad injury. I don't know if you guys heard or not. Came down the guy's foot and broke his tibia and really bad in Greece. So he's on the mend right now, hoping to get better.
Yeah, good luck to him. The like you say, the one thing your teams historically are nightmares to match up against, and I think this year's group is that same thing. You look at how quick they are, how good of shooters. You talked about shooting an awful lot earlier. It feels like everybody can shoot from about 30 feet in. You are a real nightmare of a matchup, and are going to continue to be that way as this season goes on.
Well, and there's 2 ways you can look at those matchups, and obviously I'm trying to look at it the other way. We're going to have a hard time We have a hard time matching up with Tech when they're 6'7", 6'6", 6'6", 6'6", but also those guys aren't used to guarding, our guards that are quick and can shoot it and can bounce it. And so I look at that's a mismatch for a bigger team that has to come and try to guard us on the perimeter. And we still got to hit shots, and we hit a lot of shots in the first half in that game against Tech. But yeah, I think we added these 2 guys, and they've only played 4 games. And I think the longer we go, we're going to get better as a team, and hopefully by the time tournament comes, we're in the mix.
Yeah, you could certainly even feel that in the game against Tech. Was it was their 4th game. You could see the team trying to come together as a unit, and at times it really worked, and at other times it stumbled a little bit. And you just know that chemistry is certainly going to feed on itself as we go through the second time and then get ready for a third time.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how you make chemistry. I know when you have it, and I know when you don't. And we're a work in progress. We had some pretty good chemistry early, but our size caught up with us a little bit. And I just think that I like I said, Tech I think is the best team today. But they went to Western and lost, and then they've been fortunate to be at home. And you go on the road, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to win at anybody's place. And then, I said win your home games, but it's also going to be hard for you to win at home as well. So it's just sneaking out some of those close wins, and that's going to make the difference. And, it's a great league, and I'm the Raider for our league, and us playing 3 times kills us. We'll have a rating coming out tomorrow, and Tech's probably going to be, I'm going to say 10 or 11 coming out tomorrow, but Carroll drops out because they've lost like 5 games out of the last 7. And so, we're basically going to have one team that's going to be in that top 25 in this next. And part of that is because top to bottom, anybody can beat anybody. And in a lot of those other leagues, there's 4 or 5 really good teams. And then there's, 4 or 5 really bad teams, even in the Cascades. The lower teams, no way can beat most of those teams on a given night. It'd be nice to come to the gym one night and you're going to win and win easy, but that doesn't happen in our league.
It's crazy to think that we talked about the parity and how good everybody is from top to bottom on the men's side. And then on that same token, we're going to have one team ranked, and then no one else is going to have a peep at that top 25 list because of it. It just makes you shake your head a little bit. And hopefully we'll get a remedy to that some year down the line. I doubt
it didn't help. It didn't help going to Arizona, and we went 3-14. And
yeah,
I predicted that. I didn't know that we'd win the 3. And then we look at the GSAC, who was down there, and their second place team is probably going to come out number 20, 21, 22. That's Menlo. And then Ottawa, who I thought's better than both of them. I don't know they'll be in the top 25. So it's, you got to, when you have those non-conference games, I mean, just like they can help you, they can hurt your league. But our league hurts ourselves by the number of times we play each other.
Yeah.
I wish there was a better way to do it. But like Wes said, the scheduling part, those teams don't want to come to Montana because they know they're probably not going to win, and why would you come to Montana when it's 15 below?
You mean we don't have anything to offer when it's 15 below, Steve?
I don't know what it is.
I mean, Wes's heat probably stops when he quits moving too. Not only do his lights go out, his heater shuts off.
Well, he doesn't have a heater. I have a heater. I tell him the heavier set people don't need heaters.
Well, I still have a heater, Wes, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm fat.
Well, Bob and I have thin blood. We're on lots of medication, so we need heaters.
I got 2 of them, one on each side of me, so we're doing good. We're doing good. So, well guys, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And Steve, I want to talk to you.
I'd like to thank you guys like Wes did, but this is pretty cool that we both get to be on the same time. I didn't know that when it happened, and I appreciate it. And you guys are, I'm not a big praise guy, as you know, but
so you guys are guys.
You guys are 2 of the best. Paul, you probably wouldn't be as good without JT sitting next to you, and make sure he gets that. I always try to brown nose JT a little bit just in case you ever need protection or something. So
why do you think I keep him around?
Well, he used to come up to me and just a friendly little tap in the chest, how you doing, and about cave your chest in all the time. So, and then Chunky is a good buddy of mine. We played softball forever, and Chloe, and all those. Yeah, those Butte kids are tough. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and like we told Wes, Steve, I mean, we're really blessed with our coaches. That the Frontier Conference has just the absolute cream when it comes to coaches, and we wouldn't be who we are as a conference, and even the other teams in the conference if it wasn't for guys like yourself. So thanks for everything.
Unbelievable. I function better when we, in the COVID year, we played back to back, and there's no preparation time. But Hyatt and all those young guys, they got to have that day off to prepare, and so they get the advantage back. But yeah, our coaches, girls and guys, are unbelievable. Yeah. Nobody really knows.
And we talked about even earlier with Wes with the idea of, trying to get people to understand how good the play is in this conference all the time. And that's the other one is I just want people to realize how good our coaches are. I mean, our coaches are so incredibly intelligent, and we get our teams together, and obviously we don't have the winning percentage we do at the national tournament and outside of our conference that we do without our coaches. And so just hats off to you guys, and always appreciate what you guys bring. And even when you give us gruff, and I'll make sure JT knows you're both making fun of him. So look forward to that.
All your broadcasts, every one of them. I believe I heard Western is playing, Providence is at Western. And I believe the comment was, "Oh, there's no defense played in that game."
I believe that was an absolute quote from me.
Thatcher goes, "You listen, don't you?" And I said, "You're dang right, I listen." And then sometimes when he says nothing, not that you don't, but Thatcher knows basketball, and sometimes he gives me some clues that.
Yeah, and then he was sucking up to you by saying you were playing defense at the beginning of this year. What was up with that?
He did. Because I told him we didn't work on offense all week. We did straight defense, and then that went back to the norm.
Yeah, I thought the senility was starting to set in when he's like, "Yeah, there's defense being played in Providence." I was like,
we worked at it. You know what? You can't be a good defensive team and shoot quick. My son tells me that all the time. But if you're going to shoot the three and you got an open three in the first 10 seconds, why don't you let him shoot it? Oh, he's got to pass it around 15 times before they shoot the ball. Let the post touch it. We don't have many post guys though.
So now I understand how these conversations go.
Huh?
Now I'm starting to understand how these conversations go between the two of you.
Oh, yeah.
In this ear and out the other.
Okay. It's amazing. Wes was already asleep by the middle of that sentence. He was just gone.
I got one last story to tell on Steve before we go here. I can't remember what it was. It's probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You know, my memory's getting a little bad. Probably 7 years ago. Anyway, Steve's playing at Rocky, and the first half didn't go very well. I think he had a technical and right at the beginning of the game there. And at halftime, he goes stomping to the locker room, and Wes comes up to me and he says, "Maybe we ought to go stand by the locker room door. We might learn some new cuss words."
I will tell you that I saw something. I saw Bill Foley refereeing a basketball game the other night.
How scary is that?
Yeah, how scary is that? Now I know why in his articles he's been really backing the refs lately, and a lot of his articles he's writing. He actually didn't do too bad.
Don't tell him that.
Probably get him in the frontier.
Well, gentlemen,
hey,
we appreciate you guys and certainly look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it. How good are those guys?
Oh, that was fun. We probably could have spent a couple hours there, Paul, pretty easily.
All we would have had to do is just throw one a bone and just let him go off. You know, I mean, that's the beauty of, and maybe our coaches are maybe a little too comfortable around us, but we're really lucky in that respect because I think they'll tell us whatever we want to ask them, to be honest.
Yeah. And we're so fortunate to have good coaches in our conference. That's for sure. It just makes all the difference in the world. So
yeah. And before we get out, he brought it up a couple times, and Coach Chris Mowat from MSU Northern, started Hoops for a Cause, and there is a link out for Hoops for a Cause for Paige Holmes, Paffhausen. She and her husband had a baby. Baby is completely healthy, but mom, they had to take a cesarean section. And that's one of those where, my daughter was born cesarean section, and it's one of those, I've seen that process firsthand. It's insane surgery. And the possibility of infection is incredibly high. And Paige Holmes got an infection, and actually was stuck due to the weather in Dillon for a day, which really exacerbated the issue. And Paige Holmes and the Frontier Conference family is looking to help Paige. And if you remember Paige, she played on that national title team. She might be one of, if not the best women's defender I can remember in this conference. I think she's JT's favorite defender ever. She was an exceptional athlete. And again, we're kind of part of the Frontier Conference family. So if you're able to help out Paige, you can go to the UM Western Athletic page. You can look up Hoops for a Cause on any of the social medias. You can get a hold of head coach Chris Mowat at Northern to help out. There is the GoFundMe there, and she is in Salt Lake City. She's in the burn unit because of the extent of the infection. And just wish her, Mick, and baby a speedy recovery, but she'll still be down there, it sounds like, several weeks.
Yeah, and I saw that as well, and my sentiments the same way. And that she was just a great defender, but also a great team player for that Western team. And and that's what's really cool about the Frontier Conference. You know, it's totally a big happy family when it comes right down to it. I mean, it's kind of like you know, you might not like somebody, but as soon as somebody tries to challenge them, you're their best friend. You know,
Oh yeah, it's
and that's
siblings.
yeah, you know, and that's what it's all about. And uh, you know, just hate to see something like that happen to a young couple like that, and all the thoughts and prayers to that family
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and it's it's another one of those where this is who we are. We're a big family, and if you're able to help, awesome. If not, so be it. I mean, we're just breaking into the new year. Holidays are quickly behind us, and I understand it's tight in a lot of places. So just keep her in your thoughts, keep the family in your thoughts, and just something to kind of think about. As we move forward into the rest of this conference season.
All right, Paul, with that, why don't you wrap us up for the day?
No. All right. So again, our thanks to the Kellers for joining us here, and for Bob Ritterod, I'm Paul Panisco. Thanks for joining us for the Montana Sportscast podcast, and until next time, take care.